Good morning, everyone. It's a nice, crisp morning, isn't it? I wanted to quickly just share with you, this week we had our full moon celebration. We had a chant band and there were dances of universal peace. And we built this beautiful flower mandala. And so that's what you see there behind me. I know people can't always make it, so I just wanted to share with you the flower mandala. Since you couldn't be there to witness it, you could witness a little piece of it here, that way. It was a lovely evening. Oh, and we had some special guests stop by. I had no idea they were coming, but Geshe Tinley and Geshe Robke. Geshe Tinley is kind of the in-house monk over at the Rime Center. There are Tibetan brothers and sisters, and he had a visiting friend in town, Geshe Robke. So they came and visited and participated in the dances and the chanting with us. So it was a real treat to have them here. I was preparing the talk this week, and I thought I was going to talk about impermanence, but I don't really know what happened to that talk. And then I was going to talk about change, and then that changed. So we're talking about power versus force today. I'm just teasing with you, I'm joking with you. I really did want to talk about power versus force for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is all of the change and impermanence and things going on in our society right now. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this. Also, just again I'm so blessed and grateful to be exploring the Dharma with so many wonderful practitioners. All the folks that I speak with during the week and emails and text messages and Sunday mornings. So our community is very blessed. And so it has such a deep practice. I am always amazed every day when I talk to members of the community and the insights that they are having and the growth and the change and the transformation that's occurring. It is truly a wonderful and a miraculous thing. So let's dive in to this discussion on power versus force. There is, as many of you probably already know, a wonderful book by this title, and it is written by a fellow by the name of David Hawkins. And it is a fabulous book. In fact, it's one of a trilogy. There's 3 books, Eye of the Eye, Power versus Force, and I forgot the other one right off the top of my head. But in his book, Power versus Force, David Hawkins says this. He says that we think, there's the first problem, right? He says that we think that we live by forces that we control. But in fact, we are governed by power from unrevealed sources, power over which we have no control. This is a large part about what we mean when we talk about being unconscious or conscious, being aware, unaware, or being asleep or being awake. According to David Hawkins, let's unpack these 2 terms for a moment, power and force. According to David Hawkins, power is the alignment of our thoughts and actions with our highest values and principles. And it is characterized by feelings of connection, of love, of joy, of peace. Force, on the other hand, is the use of manipulation or coercion to get what we want. And it is associated with negative emotions such as fear, anger, clinging or grasping, and aggression. What's so interesting in this second half is this force, this manipulation of getting what we want is errant from the beginning because of what we think we want. We think we want, peace, and yet the peace we're after is a worldly peace. If I could just get everybody to pipe down, be quiet, settle down, then everything will be all right. If I could just get the world to do what I want it to do, then, we would be peace and joy. But there's 7.9 billion people all saying the same thing. We think that we want connection, which is true. It's pretty much ultimately all that anybody wants is connection, but it's the way we think we want to get it. We think that we're connecting as we play video games with somebody in Kentucky and we're talking with them and this is a connection. We think that we're connecting with people when we give them money or we receive money. And so the problem is that with force, especially what we want is really just a series of survival mechanisms that we have learned to engage, called conditioning, over the years, so that whole area has been errant to begin with. So Hawkins argues that power is a more effective and positive approach to achieving our goals, and that it can lead to greater fulfillment and well-being. He also suggests that our level of power can actually be measured on a scale. It's called Hawkins' Scale of Consciousness, and it is easily available on the internet. I was going to make a copy and have it sitting out, but I didn't do that because really you can access it quite easily. Hawkins' Scale of Consciousness, with higher levels of consciousness associated with greater power and lower levels of consciousness associated with greater force. So we have been conditioned to think that force is power, for example, by controlling others. But force is a false material level that always has to be backed up by a reason. Force, I'll say it again, is a false material level that always has to be backed up by a reason. True power comes from the heart, comes from consciousness, comes from what many would call spirit, and is attained through personal development and spiritual practices. So this idea of power versus force falls in line with the Buddhist practice of samavayama. Samavayama is on the Noble Eightfold Path, which is our whole practice, is the Four Noble Truths. That's our whole practice. That simplicity is one of the things that is so enticing about our practice, about Buddhism. It's very simple. There's not, a huge amount of cosmology and theology and dogma and deities. It's just the Four Noble Truths. And the fourth noble truth is to follow the path, the Eightfold Path. Well, on the Eightfold Path is samavayama, or wise effort. Wise effort. In New Age terms, they often talk about things like promotion versus attraction, right? You've heard this or you've studied this in different things. Again, this is also sort of an aspect of this wise effort. When we align with our true values and align with our heart, then the efforting becomes effortless. One of my teachers used to say, "Stop pushing the river." So let's talk a little bit about wise effort, samavayama, this step on the Noble Eightfold Path. You see, force, again, in the same way that we do not demonize the egoic mind, our ego is a beautiful part of us and has kept us alive to this point. And the truth is that as we mature spiritually, we transcend and include the ego. So in the same way, we do not villainize force. Force is necessary. However, in small doses, You see, force in small doses, it's important because you cannot get power without first using some force. Force creates the momentum. Once you get the ball rolling, right? Our problem is we're now running behind it, shoving it, trying to get somewhere. We don't realize that with just a little bit of force, we can get the ball rolling. Force creates the momentum. Just think about this idea, this concept, this topic of whatever it is that we're wanting to create. So force creates the momentum, gets you thinking about it. It's what empowers us to be brave or to have some courage. And we get the ball rolling. So first we need to be a little bit scared to be powerful, a little bit of anticipation or anxiety, because that kicks in all kinds of even physiological processes. So it takes force to create change, but only a little bit of it is needed. Once force has done the legwork, momentum takes over, and once power has been achieved, force crumbles away. This is somewhat akin to what we talk about often about zone or flow. Think about, just for a moment, let's just say a jazz pianist, right? There's a little force there because I have to get up and practice my scales again for the third time today. And so there's that little force nudging the practice. And then the practice, pretty soon, the pianist no longer has to think about scales, no longer has to actually play the piano, because as zone and flow is accessed, there is no one playing a piano. There is no player, no piano. There is just amazing music that's coming out without any form or structure. It's just happening. It's kind of, in a way, sort of like that, to use an analogy. Now, this idea of power is not a concept, but is truly an energetic frequency. Very much like the frequency of the universe. We talk a lot about this in some of the martial arts, or especially in Qigong, a contemplative art, or Tai Chi Cha, also a contemplative art. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. David Hawkins goes on in his book to talk about, because once he moves into this idea of power, to talk about the nature of enlightenment. He goes on to say, the nature of enlightenment through the teachings of the Buddha, through meditation and our mindfulness practice, we can begin to experience characteristics of enlightenment, glimpses, moments of awakening. According to Hawkins, enlightenment itself is a state of consciousness that is characterized by a deep understanding of the nature of reality and a complete absence of ego or self-centeredness. Now, to qualify this is just one expression of knowledge, ideas, or concepts about enlightenment. As most of us know, if you can name it, that's not it. because to name it, to use language, concepts, and ideas is to miss the mark. But it's all we have, isn't it? Language is all we have to be able to talk about this as a community. So just take this with a grain of salt. Like all Dharma talks, just feel into it, listen to it. What resonates for you is for you. What does not is for someone else. But I love this explanation of enlightenment. I think it's interesting. I think we can put it up there with a lot of other explanations of enlightenment. Enlightenment itself, he goes on to say, is beyond words. It is beyond concepts. He also notes that enlightenment is not something that can be attained through external means, such as through the pursuit of wealth or power, but rather it is a state of being that arises from within as a result of deep inner realizations. Let me say it again. He goes on to say that enlightenment is a state of being that arises from within as a result of deep inner realization. Think about all the teachings that we've ever talked about here for the past, next year will be 30 years that the American Buddhist Center or Temple Buddhist Center has been here. Think about all the teachings in that one little sentence right there, right? A state of being. What is it that we are cultivating when we take the noble one seat, when we sit to meditate for 20 minutes? We're not doing anything. We're not meditating. We are simply cultivating being. We are cultivating that state of being that he just spoke of here. And it arises from within. Think of all the teachings, how we talk about, the external world holds really nothing for us. We don't want to push it away. We participate in the process of life, and there are many wonderful, beautiful things to experience, but that is not enlightenment. That's just the world of form and the world of matter and the world of experience. Instead, this arises from within. This arises from our internal state of being. And so, this internal state then arises from the deep realization. What is the deep realization called? What's our other name for it? Insight. Vipassana. So, wise effort is a crucial component of engaged Buddhism. As some of us prepare to attend the rallies coming next Saturday, there are No Kings rallies happening all over the country. Wise effort helps us to set a stage as practitioners to practice what we call conscious activism or even engaged Buddhism. And here's how it helps us do that. Wise effort, when we truly understand power and force, wise effort helps us to root ourselves in Mother Earth and her outrageous ability to regenerate. Apply that because we're not different, right? You understand that there's nothing in here that's not in the earth. We come from the earth. Her ability to regenerate helps us see that so that we too can, through power, not force, and enable and empower ourselves to regenerate. Think about this for a moment. Right now, they're discovering that new forms of bacteria are forming on plastics, and this bacteria is eating it. This is brand new. Is this not a miracle? Is this not amazing? How are we not in constant state of awe? Right now, there are forms of fungus that are brand new that are popping up around Chernobyl that feed on, you guessed it, radiation. And they're devouring the radiation. Mother Earth is still trying to take care of us because she sees that the plastics are harming us. She sees that the radiation is harming us. Root, ground, and center yourself in Mother Earth. This is the difference between power and force. Mother Earth isn't forcing anything and yet wields amazing, unlimited power. Our practice of wise effort roots us there. And it helps us to learn to root in the teachings, in the Dharma, to root in our Sangha, where we surround ourselves with those who embody the ability to turn poison into medicine. There was a quote from, I believe, John Eagle, who was a senior tribal member who was very influential and very vocal during the Standing Rock issues from the Sioux tribe that happened in 2016. And John Eagle said, "One heart, one mind, the people will be one. The earth that you stand on at home is the same earth that we stand on here at Standing Rock. The earth unites us. It bridges the gap between these thoughts, which fall more into the category of force, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, black, white. I mean, my goodness, all this duality and separation, right? All of which falls under the category of force. Because remember, force needs a reason. Power does not. The second thing that our embodying of wise effort can help us with is in the way that we learn to decant our emotions. Decant. And I use that word very specifically. Ranting, reactionism expels energy and it releases a charge. It relieves pressure, but it generates a negative contribution. We're radiating that. We're putting that energy out there when we rant, when we rave, when we blame, when we judge. And in the same way, also recycling despair, concern, anxiety, grief, and anger, it expends emotional energy, but it generates no return on time spent. In other words, it's kind of like there was a movie that came out here recently, and I can't remember what it was exactly, but this guy said, all this stuff is happening. Aren't you worried? And he goes, well, would that help? And it was just such a beautiful moment. Jack Kornfield goes on to say, if you were to walk into a refugee camp, is it your anxiety they need? Is it your anger they need? Is it your separation and division that they need? No. It's our love, our compassion, our understanding. Emotions that are, put on my sommelier hat here as we decant emotions that are seasoned, that are aired gently, lovingly, intentionally, are generative, and they invite coherent response or action, not reactivity. Decanted emotion answers the siren call, the why behind responses and actions. Emotions decanted are observed, are experienced, and catalyze mindful response and empower conscious activism. We are there. When I said it answers the siren call, we are there, whether you are at the rally or you are sitting at home and joining them in consciousness. We are there for no other reason than my heart moves me to do so. We're in touch with our heart. Spend emotional energy mindfully to propel and foster meaningful change. And finally, this embodying and being present with and cultivating wise effort helps us to cultivate our compassion and idle empathic sensitivity. Empathic overwhelm or compassion fatigue or compassion overwhelm diminishes our ability to act wisely from the whole self, not from just up here. Too often, the empathic, sensitive person loses sight of self-care and succumbs to the overwhelming urge to help and to hold. Dial it down, dear ones. Dial it down, whether you are meditating on peace or marching for it. Whatever you do is the best you can do in this moment, and let it be enough today. Do not march in opposition to anyone or anything. People often ask me as a Buddhist, aren't you mad at these people for doing this? And aren't you angry for this guy for saying that? And blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on and on. And I respond by saying, no, I'm not. I'm not against them. I'm not angry with them. I don't hate them. I understand that they are very passionate about something that is missing in their life, and they are afraid. They are also not practitioners, so they come from a place of fear. They come from a place of judgment and blame. I've done it myself. That's how I know where they're coming from. This is called compassion, understanding. So it helps us to be able to move forward with a compassionate heart, leading the way. In doing so, connection occurs through the coherence and the unity of all hearts. The collective heart has space for navigating the poignant and sometimes painful circumstances down here on this planet. For contribution without depletion and overwhelm. The collective heart helps us and embodies us to be able to provide a contribution without depletion and overwhelm. The compassionate collective heart is the fulcrum for actualizing dreams and intentions and for unification. I am less interested in who you voted for and more interested in what your final hours with your mom or your dad or your pet or your sister. I'm more interested less in what party you belong to, and I'm more interested in your poetry that you write. I want to hear it. I want to know what lights up your heart. I want to know about the people that you take care of. The people that you love. How do you do it? How do you feel when you do it? These are the conversations that unite. These are the conversations that embody within them a power and require no force whatsoever. The individual heart that beats within each conscious activist is mirrored by others and supported by the whole. Thank you so much for your presence, for your heart, for your practice. I honor who you are and who you are becoming.